Hello there. Good morning. A very great morning to every single person that's joining me live on this edition of Knox to Nuggets. And for everyone that will watch thereafter, thank you so much. I never take for granted giving me this share of your time. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Every single one of you, you are amazing. Thank you for being our heroes. Thank you for being exemplary. Thank you for loving, caring, protecting, providing for us. Thank you for all you do. Trust me, we do not take it for granted. Somebody said dads have only one day in there. I said, no, they don't have one day. They have every single day in the year because every day we sincerely do appreciate you. Thank you to all the fathers. Happy Father's Day. So today, the entire month of June has been devoted to fatherhood. And we've started it from the children telling us what exactly they think fathers are or what their fathers are to them. It was such an instructive session. Last week we had Pastor Femi Mebwekwe talking again about the role of fathers. But today I have someone in the house. Now, if I dare introduce him, I will use the entire 30 minutes to talk about him. As a dance coordinator, is an arts manager, a creative director, is an artistic director, is executive producer, and chief dance judge of Celebrity Takes Two. Now, the only thing he could not get me to do was to get me on the stage to dance as a fantastic guy. And is a global player, global phenomenon. He is no other person than a brother I've known for almost, I think, over half of my life, really, now. I've known him. Please receive with me on stage Segun Lawal.
Oh my goodness, we can
Good
sort out
to
that dance
have
thing soon. It's never too late, sister. It's never too
ah,
late. It's a pleasure to be here once again. Thank you so much for the invite and for what we
I
did in the time.
ah having you here is a pleasure. Sincerely, I don't take it for granted at all. So I'm saying the bigger thank you. Thank you so much, Segun. Now,
You're
Segun, we're
very
in the
welcome.
month of June.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about fathers all through the month. So we dashed through the entire month of June, not just one day in the month of June. But there's something that's critical, and that
Yeah.
is discovering gifts
Yeah.
in children. And that's where I want to take you on because you do some incredible. I don't know how you get it done. When I watch the Spirit of David dance, I'm like, okay. And there's one guy there dancing along with them. Maybe I should start from this. Is there an age that you start discovering gifts in children? Is it that when they become 13, 20, 25, then you say, oh, this child loves to do this? Is there a time? Is how and when do you start discovering the talents in children?
It's a very good question, and I'm glad that you're known for this, for tackling what seems simple but is profound. And I'm glad that you are taking on this topic, especially in this month, June, and in this particular season of Father's Day, because it goes back to the home and it goes back to nurturing us being able to identify bright and early where the natural skills lie in our children and where
Mm,
some of the more, should I say, nurtured and adopted skills may be. So there are those natural talents and there are those that they would learn over time. And it revolves around interest. And what we are
interest.
doing now is we need to be a bit more deliberate about tapping into their interests, even before we get to defining or discovering. We have to ask ourselves, what is this child interested in? Without influencing that interest. I mean, what naturally
Mm,
comes to them? If I spread different food types on the table, which one would they naturally gravitate to? If I put different resource materials on the table, like a book or a CD or a picture frame or whatever, what would they naturally pick? It is really incredibly important to have that platform where they choose,
mm, mm,
as
mm,
opposed to
mm,
where you are choosing for them. Create that sense of you have the power to choose. Create that
mm,
sense of these are options. choose something, and then you will now sit down and say, so why did you choose that? Is it the color? Is it the look? Is it the feel? Because there are certain things we've learned and at different, I mean, you're asking about specific ages, but it happens at different ages with different people. Um, to be a member of our dance group, for instance, we require you be towards your late teens because there may be demands on your time or even your resources that we wouldn't want someone that is young to start thinking about.
Okay.
But if it comes to the raw discovery of talent, that
Yeah.
happens right from when children are babies, really. Their
Mm.
ability to, I won't say manipulate, but get what they want when they want it from their folks. And
Mm.
that happens, goodness knows, in a matter of months. By the time they're 1 year old, they know what
Yeah.
mommy wants and what daddy wants. They know whether to go to mommy for this or to go to daddy for that.
True.
So it is natural in that child to be more observant than we are when we get older. They are very
Mm.
skilled in knowing how to get what they want. And I think it's because, well, first of all, it's so important. I just noted a couple of things that I felt was important, and that's attention, right? One of the things we've learned in discovering young talents is to give those people, to give those children attention. Children love attention, and they simply define attention as time you invest with them. And that doesn't change. My 16-year-old daughter doesn't love attention, quote unquote. She loves spending time with her father. And
Mm.
investing time is giving attention. Now, whether we realize it or not, if they're sitting in front of a TV screen, they feel that the content on that screen is giving them attention, is giving them their time. And so
Mm.
it's very important when we are doing this to deliberately and consciously invest time because it translates to attention for them. And after a while, they begin to ask themselves, in this last week, who gave me the most attention? Who had my time?
Mm.
So, like I said, it's about interest. Because we sat down with them, gave them time, therefore helping their attention, we immediately present ourselves to them as interested in them.
Mm.
And they don't dash interest. We will assume because I'm your parent, you should know I'm automatically interested in you. No, children of these days, they learn by what they see as opposed to what you think should be. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Binta. It's really it's from any age. We've discovered that typically when they begin to become cognitive, when they know what's right or what's wrong, their choices. Remember what I said about presenting choices?
Mm-hmm.
Because it
Yeah.
tells you that this mind is working along the lines
Mm.
of preference, along the lines of selection. For you to choose red over blue, why? And so it's
Wise.
really important to present options, as many as you can. Sadly, because of the way culturally we are, we tend to present options based on what we were presented
We.
with. So, for instance, food types, right? I think, this is my personal opinion, I'm a proud Yoruba boy, but I'm telling you that the Easterners and the Southerners make the best soups in Nigeria, right? And that's because I've lived in Calabar for 13 years. They make some excellent soups. But culturally, one could say, no, just present the soups of your culture.
Mm-mm.
And when you do that, you are not really presenting options. You are presenting culture. You are
Mm.
presenting mindset. You are presenting stereotype. You are not really discovering. The whole point of discovering is that it is latent, it is under the surface, it is hidden. And you bring out what is inside when you spread options, carefully considered options.
Wow. 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 Something you said about attention, that for them, it's
Hmm.
time invested in them.
Yes.
But you said something that caught my attention. That when they sit in front of the TV, they see the TV as giving them time.
Yes.
Could that be where a lot of children get addicted to TV, not because of the content, but they think this is giving me time. Daddy and
Yes, you're
mommy don't have
absolutely
my
right.
time. So
You're
the
absolutely
TV.
right. We
Mm.
we we over we overthink for children. We think because we're thinking in the age of the 40s and the 50s, we think we know what Uncle Gilbert says Calabar Kitchen. He can capture any man. Forget story. Forget that story. Abak, Nditan, Afang, Fifer. I can go on and on. The thing is, the attention you're talking about for children is simple. They break it down into black and white, into bits like zeros and ones. Today, what gave me attention? Who
Mm.
gave me attention? Therefore, equal sign that person is interested in me. And
Mm.
when that is repeated over a day, over a week, over a month, over a year, you go back to the place you feel has more interest in you. So you find that they seem to be addicted to the content. They seem to be addicted to the video games. But it's because, in their opinion, those guys created content that seemed to understand them.
Mm.
And it appears it understands them simply because it listened to them. And that's another thing that I would say is value pursuit, right? With for young people, we want to show them we are pursuing values with them, right? So is what I call value pursuit, right? At a point, they begin to want to discover worth, not just talent, but how much am I worth? How many smiles can I get? How many likes can I get? Was I able to execute that dance move? Did I draw this picture well? And then we go to a school that offers a grading system. And if we're not careful, that grading system may look like it's just scores, but it begins to reflect value and worth. You got 3 over
Mm.
10. They begin to think 3 over 10, I can't be very good. I'm a very poor person. I'm not good at anything. Do you understand, sister? They begin to translate grading and scoring as value. So we
Mm.
need to begin to create a grading and scoring system that says there's value beyond XYZ or beyond this subject or beyond this topic. We must, as they're growing in a value system called academics, we must realize that that value system is critical to their sense of self-being and self-worth. I'm
Mm.
sorry, I missed that point, and I'm just yakking away.
No,
Um,
you are making a very valid point because you're very right. Many times people go to school and when they come third, fourth, fifth, they
mhm,
feel that's their worth.
mhm,
I think when you're trying to encourage them, they then think, Mommy, Daddy, you don't understand. I'm not as good as ABC. And without much of effort, their sense of self-worth is going southward.
mhm,
And many times we don't even look at it. Yes, Gilbert said it. Grading can, yes, it can really be a talent killer.
yeah,
Because a child that's not good in physics might be good in creatives
yeah,
and extremely well. You know, last week, our guest on the show shared the experience of his son who, because the grandfather is an engineer, the father is an engineer, typically expected him to be the next engineer. And he got into uni for engineering and it just went so bad that he got expelled.
oh, oh,
He loved to draw. He loved to do a lot of creatives. So they said, you know what? Make your choices. What do you want? And he's doing fantastic now as a creative arts
wow,
person.
wow,
But initially they expected him to be an engineer. And that's the thing. Sometimes we say these things are in the family. So we want to be like
hmm,
that family of all lawyers, that family
hmm,
of all doctors, that family of all engineers. How
hmm,
do we bring in a balance
yeah.
in discovering these gifts?
I like that because the thing is we are raising children and we are mentoring children, but we're also doing it within an age that the world is in. Okay,
Mm,
so this is a tech age. There was an iron age before when everything was about mining and vocational jobs. Then there was an academic age where everything was about being an economist or a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. But we're now in a tech age where the top 10 industries in the world, maybe 80% of them are tech industries. So the fact is that when we were in the academic age, it was obvious that our parents wanted us to flow with that, be a doctor, be a lawyer, etc., etc. But in parenting, we have to realize that we are moving with the times too. The reason why we were told to be doctors and lawyers was because that was the time. 50 years before that, it would have been vocational jobs we were told to learn. We would
Mm,
probably would have been told to do some blacksmith work or some
mm,
carpentry or some, because those were the times. That was the time we were in, if you like. And therefore it made sense to want to send your child to be an apprentice under Mr. Shokoloku Bangoshe, who is going to be there for the next 10 years, and then you're going to come out and do this and do that and do this. Um, uh, Ololade, wow, this is a long. These are some very ancient people joining us. But thank you so much. Thank you for the compliment. The fact is, we are now in a different time,
mm.
and because we're in a different time, it doesn't negate the need for vocational jobs. It doesn't negate the need for more traditional jobs. But the fact is that if you go to school now to learn computer science in 4 years, by the time you come out, the number of advances and updates and changes will just make all your learning obsolete.
True.
So, as parents, we need to move with the times. Now, we have to be careful because people hear that and immediately think compromise. But unconsciously, we've all been moving with the times. How many households
Mm,
have landlines? How many of those landlines are the things you dial like this? We we all unconsciously move with the times. But when it comes to parenting, we seem to feel safer with our traditional learning. And we forget that those kids are in these current times and they're trying to reconcile what you are telling them as value and what they're seeing presently as value. So it's important to keep the principle but adapt the application.
hmm,
Keep
hmm,
the principle but adapt application. Because
hmm,
even in our times, talking about Spirit of David, I mean, in 1997 to whatever, being on stage was novel. There was very little way of sharing whatever it was you're learning. But these days, you have to consider digital content because
hmm,
I could get 1,000 people into a hall and think I've achieved. But with digital content, I can reach 10,000 people easily. The
hmm,
experience
hmm,
is different, of course, but the fact is that we are in different times. we
hmm,
have we have to, like this, like Binta says, we have to make sure that value systems do align with the objective, but recognize that there is going to be different application. And I think people struggle with application because they're
hmm,
not used to it or they're not knowledgeable about it. So they struggle with it. And you're going back to the grading system. I remember my daughter would, she would try so hard at home and she would probably not be announced as top three. And we will super celebrate those top three people. And yeah, I know she's such a creative mind. She's so intelligent. She could be a detective. But because those are not options readily available in the African culture, how many people want to send their children to be detectives? We find that, or to be, now we can say interior decorators or architects because we are moving with the times. So it
true.
takes a value pursuit, a shared value pursuit. That would be my point two, if you like,
Hmm,
behind attention and interest.
hmm. Segun, let me ask you this. Just came to my head while you were talking. Has there been a time somebody came into Spirit of David and you just felt, no, 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 you can't dance?
Quite a few times. And the thing is, sometimes we are more interested in something than we are able to do it.
Hmm.
Like I would
So,
love to do so many things, but I'm not very able. So
so
so what
I'm
do we do?
bringing you to that exactly because now you talked about interest. So I love to dance. I see everybody dancing and I love to dance, but I'm not gifted at it. How do you help that child?
Initially at the top of the program, we talked about two kinds of talents, if you like, what comes
Yeah.
naturally and what can be learned, what can
Mm-hmm.
be groomed, what can be nurtured. So when God called me to start Spirit of David many years ago, he actually called it a school. We call it a club now to give it that sense of social fit. So it's not a church, it's not a fellowship, even though it has all the principles, God-fearing principles, biblically based. We call it a gospel dance club. And even just calling it a club opened the doors for a lot of young people to feel the need to participate socially. So we found out that yes, dance was the subject matter, but the byproduct was influencing people's social lifestyle. So
Hmm.
dance was almost the net that caught the fish of lifestyle. And we we would present dance classes. People would pass through schools. They would learn to do things like roly polies. We find people as old as 20 something struggling to do a roly poly or we will blindfold people and say, try and walk in a straight line to give them that sense of spatial awareness. So people started enjoying this learning. Okay, before the dance comes a sense of conditioning, body conditioning, fitness, health style, dieting, whatever. And because people were interested, remember, it's all about interest. Interest is the thread that allows you to bring application. There is you if you're not interested in a subject in school, you would not like it, no matter whatever is being taught. And sometimes that's a function of the teacher. I hated chemistry because I didn't like my chemistry teacher. So,
Mm.
as silly as that sounds, sometimes the vehicle that presents interest can affect how you see the subject matter. So, I think a lot of us found that we were learning more than dance in Spirit of David. We were
Mm.
making friends. We were being exposed to new playlists, new songs. We were praying in a different way. We were proud to be called Christians. We could look cool, talk well. In fact, for a very long season, up till now, Pidgin English was banned in Spirit of David. Not because people can't speak Pidgin English at home, but because I wanted them to be in a position that when they had to stand before great people like yourself, they could present themselves without stammering, without stuttering, and being, the Bible says in Daniel 1 that Nebuchadnezzar chose people who could stand in the king's palace, who had
Yeah.
that sense of self-value and self-worth, and would not be afraid to present their case, if you like. So it is very, very interesting to us how to nurture those talents. And now, when you have different platforms, like what was just mentioned now, like the streaming platforms, it's very important to realize that, if they're going to be on these platforms, whether it's YouTube, whether it's a streaming platform or whatever, the question is, how can you now translate this same lifestyle of nurturing and learning onto those platforms? And that's where we are now. We're really sitting down and wondering, how can we translate this? How can we do a season 3 of Celebrity Takes Two and make it a hybrid event? So it's not just a live event. You can participate online just as well. There is an audience in that. So for us, it's very, very important to create what we call then a club culture. We felt that the dance was pertinent, but not everybody would be a good dancer. Some people sewed costumes very well. Some people were great at scripting. Some people were fantastic in having an eye for what the props should look like. And so when the dance was being performed, they sat there proudly backstage saying, "Do you see that costume? I sewed it. I may not be the one wearing it, but that person looks fabulous because of my talent and my gifting."
Mm.
So it's
Mm.
very important to
Mm.
we're all parts of a body. We can't all be elbows. Not every part of the body is a mouth, but it still forms part of that body. So inclusion is very important in nurturing talent.
Mm.
Not what
Inclusion.
how the world defines inclusion now, but inclusion simply means you have a right to be a part of this, even if you're not a quote unquote capable dancer. And I think that was the difference in Spirit of David. It wasn't necessarily, is the difference, I should say. It's not necessarily a professional dance school, but you have professionals there. But if you love dance and you're interested in any form of fashion and you love God, then you have a space here. And I think that's key. Going back to the interest, do we impose our values? Do we impose our vision for our children on them without even asking or discovering what they're interested in?
Hmm.
Or do
Segun,
we not trust that?
ah, what you're saying is key, but I'm just thinking, how then do we handle the issue of peer pressure? Because
Mhm.
some of these children, the reason that they came to City of Spirit of David, well, they saw Franklin on the stage dancing and said, "Oh, I love that,
Yeah.
and I want to do that." And like Gilbert has said, you said it very, very well. Interest does not equate skill or passion, but I love it. What brought me there is I see with Segun does it and I want to do it. Then I come in, and then you say, "So costume." You are good at setting props. You are good at how do you manage the peer pressure?
Okay, so it's a bit like salt. If you see salt in your food, there's a problem. You're supposed to feel the presence of salt. It's supposed to have an impact. So it's the same with systems. We try and develop systems that don't look like systems on the surface.
Mm.
So things like orientation. Before you join, you go through a 6-week orientation that gives you some kind of foundation of what you're about to get involved with. But it's fun. You have different facilitators. At the end, you present a dance. So that's kind of like the salt in the food. You're having fun, but you're being introduced to systems. You're being introduced to structure. You're being introduced to discipline. Because
Mm.
whether we like it or not, these three things have to be in place when nurturing talents, whether you're young or old. There must be systems, structure, and discipline. And the thing is, there must also be vision. If, for instance, someone knows that one day I'm going to be on that stage, but everybody who is on that stage has passed through a training or has passed through a learning, it gives me something to look forward to. It
Mm.
also makes it feel fair that you're not just going to come in, say I'm such a great dancer, and they're going to put me on the stage the next day. No, because you
Mm.
know there is a system that everybody follows. You too, you feel, I'm just two steps away from that stage. I'm just one step away from that stage. I can do it. I will do it. It's always important for children to give them a sense of destination, a sense of vision, a sense of this is where we are going to. Remember, I said shared value pursuits? That being on stage could be seen as a value pursuit. We are going to do it together. You see, now you know how to do a spin, a one degree turn. Let's do two. Let's do three. It's so important because if not, with young people and the peer pressure you're talking about, there are all sorts of definitions. You're good, you're not good. You see, I did three spins, you only did two. You what have you, what have you? It is so important to be able to offer. Yes, I know you all have your different thoughts. Yes, you have your different skills, you have your different backgrounds, heights, beauty, whatever. But here, there's a system.
Mm.
Here, there's a structure, and
Mm.
everybody is subject to it. And if you're going to follow us here, you're going to have to be disciplined about it. And the
Mm.
interesting thing about that is once you attain, there is a sense of a badge, like a scout's badge, that I was not dashed this thing. I earned it.
That ended. Mm.
That is
Mm.
value pursuit.
Mm.
The problem with dashing people money is that it doesn't come with value. Problem with dashing people compliments is that it doesn't come
Mm.
with value. Sadly, you grow up
Mm.
thinking that I deserve it when you didn't earn it. Wow.
Mm.
We must be careful about what we think we deserve that did not come earned.
Mm. Wow. Even for us adults, these are major nuggets. Whatever
Hmm.
you dash out is not valued. You must
Mhm,
earn it. And,
mhm.
that's one thing a lot of us forget. And that's what separates the top 1% from the 99%.
Absolutely. Those look, anyone in the top 1% work their head off. You can get an inheritance of $1 billion right now and lose it in 10 years if you don't work hard on how to keep it. That's
Hmm.
just the truth. People have won the pools and the lottery many times over the years and have ended up still being broke because we have to respect the place of discipline. We have to
Hmm.
respect the place of systems. you
Hmm.
know, Even if you come into a great environment like a church or whatever, and you're fully talented, there is a system that you need to respect. It's not personal. I mean, those of you who may have known me over the years, we know that I tend to wave a very strict wand, but it's never personal. We go for each other's birthdays, naming ceremonies, weddings, hangouts, so we're still relating as human beings. But someone has to keep the system. Someone has
Hmm.
to maintain the structure. Someone has to keep the discipline. Because over time, every child eventually wants to be respected. That's my third point,
Hmm.
respect.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
We hardly talk about that word much, do we? Um, we don't really feel respected. We don't really talk about respect. Most times when we talk about respect is a younger person respecting their adults. I mean, that's how
Mm-hmm.
we see it. I
Mm-hmm.
respect you with all my heart, sister me. You know that from the day we met, well over 20 years. In fact, it was 1999 that we met.
Yeah.
We've known each other
Yeah.
for 23 years easily. And the respect is there culturally because of our ages, our society, your position. But for a developing world like now, respect is because of who you are and what you have achieved. You cannot force respect today.
Mm. 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 Mm.
So
Mm.
if you tell me, if you don't do this thing, I will flog you. You are forcing respect. Oh. They may do it, but it doesn't mean they respect you. So today's respect is a function of attainment.
Mm.
You've been able to attain. And it doesn't have to be lofty. It just has to be, there's something I call the ideas to manifestation ratio. When I'm hiring people on a team to do a creative work, I have an ideas to manifestation ratio, meaning how many ideas have you had and how many of them have manifested? It tells you the kind of person you are. If you've had 10 ideas and only one has manifested, meanwhile, someone else has had 5 ideas and 2 or 3 have manifested, then I know you're the kind of person to have a vision and run with it, not just to constantly build castles in the sky, pies in the sky. So people love the idea that you've attained. Doesn't matter what it is. You set out today to wash your clothes, you did it. That's respect. You set out today to write the first chapter of your book, you wrote it. That's respect. Children are looking at you through the ideas manifestation ratio. Yesterday, I was speaking to my son. He schools in Canada, and he's doing an incredible course, industrial design over there. And he said, "You know what, Daddy? One of the reasons I love you and respect you, because over the years I've seen God tell you to do crazy things, and you went out and did it." In his view, that is an ideas to manifestation ratio that is high. That's why he accords with that respect. But when we're just talk, when we're like, respect me because I wear good clothes and I stand behind the pulpit, these children today they won't dash it to you. I'm sorry. They just won't.
Segun, it's well over 30 minutes. We're going to round off today. We're going to put a pause today and come back next week. But next week, one of the things I want us to really look at, and we're going to bring it back to the home. How do you introduce discipline and systems in children?
Yeah.
Because if we get it right at that level, we are made.
Yeah.
Because they will grow in it. The Bible says, teach the child in the way that he should go.
Yep.
It starts from home. You've done amazingly with Spirit of David. And one of the things I think, what I will ask you next week, how you have coped with this, your hair. I'm going to ask you that. We will talk about it next week, Monday. Trust it. This hair.
For those that can't see.
This hair. It's all
mine. It's all mine.
We will talk about it. We will talk about it next week. The way you hit it at the back, we will talk about it. But you see, we're going to have to talk. Like somebody said, Gen Zs, you've got to leave what you are saying for them to see it.
They have X-ray. They will see right through you.
So we're going to be talking about how do we even bring in this discipline? How do we even introduce them to systems in this very competitive world? How do we teach them to build their own self-esteem and love themselves for who they are? Like I tell some of the people around me, so the most important parts of the body never get seen. You can't function without a brain, but you have never seen your brain. But everybody is consumed about the way the face looks, the way the hand is decorated, the way the body is covered with the lovely clothes. I said, but the most important parts of your body, you never ever get to see. You've not seen your heart before, but you know you have a heart that keeps beating.
I'm just smiling because I'm going to next week, we're talking about introducing discipline systems and systems in children. We're talking about building self-esteem, talking about the hair. But I also think, just based on what you said, we should talk about the fallacy of the visible. There is a fallacy behind the visible. There is a fallacy, the fallacy of the visible. I'm going to go and do a research on it now and talk about it, because in the spectrum of visible light, if it's in the spectrum of light, if you look at physics, the spectrum of light, visible light forms only a very small portion of that spectrum. There is infrared light, there is ultraviolet, there is microwave, and visible light is just a very small spectrum. So the idea that what I see is what defines me is a fallacy. And we'll be talking. When you said that, I just thought, I hope we will have enough time to do this. I always enjoy myself speaking with you, sister. Whether it's in your office over there in Lagos or it's over the phone, it's just a pleasure.
Always a pleasure talking with you, Segun. Even when we're going to do the dry run, it was supposed to be 5 minutes. Ended up and it's because there's so much to listen to, so much to interact on. You are so loaded that honestly, I can do the 3rd series still talking about this, because the truth is this: if we get it right, we are made.
Yes.
And it's my prayer that everybody on this call we'll get it right.
Yeah. Thank you,
And
everyone, for joining us. Thank you.
yes, thank you so much, Segun. I want to let us pause here and then we'll
Okay.
take it right on next
Thank you.
week, Monday. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much.
for staying up to do this. I truly
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, wow. Could we have enough of Segun Lawal? Really, we really can't. Really can't. Really can't. Yes, we can't wait for next week. And yes, Auntie Pinta, that thing, the fallacy of the visible, it actually got me as well thinking. And that's what it is. We get quite distracted by these things. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has joined me. Thank you for your time. I don't take it for granted at all. A Monday morning spending 30, 35, 40 minutes with me, I do not take it for granted. Thank you so much. And for everyone that will watch after now, thank you also for a share of your time. Like I would say, like this video, share it. Let me have your feedback. I know without a shadow of doubt that you're going to have a very, very, very beautiful week, and the coming days will be more glorious than the past. So until I come your way next week, Monday, don't forget, if you can think it, you can be it, and you can have it. And always and always and always, together we win. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. Love you all. Bye for now.